announced earlier yesterday that Mike Shula would be promoted to South Carolina's offensive coordinator, replacing Dowell Loggains, who accepted the head coaching position at Appalachian State. And when you look at this move, I don't even think most people, including myself, really knew that Mike Shula was even an analyst there initially, because that move in general kind of just went under the radar. But in terms of this promotion for South Carolina, I think it makes all the sense in the world, and I would argue that might go down as one of the most underrated hires in this entire cycle, especially when we look at this move at approximately maybe October 2025. Looking at this too, because I've covered South Carolina particularly. I did a preview of them in August and throughout the season, and one of the things I touched upon was Rocket Sanders and the progression of LaNorris Sellers, because obviously, just a special talent. He has a really fun combination of just natural raw athletic ability, but also being able to pass the ball just enough to be a legitimate threat. And Mike Shula has an extensive history as a quarterback's coach and an offensive coordinator, dating back all the way to the late 1990s between the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Carolina Panthers, and as recently as the New York Giants too. But what gets me excited about this move too is when you think about it, when he was the offensive coordinator with Carolina, and it was when Cam Newton 2011 during his rookie year, and 2015 when Cam Newton had that MVP season, and also when they played Denver in the Super Bowl. So when you sit there and you compare the skill set of Cam Newton compared to LaNorris Sellers, and you realize that he could be helping him develop him even more, definitely a big positive for Gamecock Nation. And when you look at this move too, it also kind of reminds you as well. I mean, Mike Shula did have some experience as head coach at Alabama from 2003 to 2006, taking over for Mike Price, who essentially pulled an Urban Meyer. Definitely highly recommend looking up that Alabama history. But even then, it was only for 3 seasons, didn't really get a fair shake. And, when you get hit with NCAA sanctions, your coach before Mike Price kind of had an unexpected firing and everything. And also, too, it doesn't help when you lose the Iron Bowl 3 years in a row to Auburn. So that doesn't help either. But when you look at this move, I say to myself, I would not be surprised if we're going into 2025, saying to ourselves, I could see LaNorris Sellers easily being an early Heisman candidate, especially just how much he's turned it on, particularly in the running game late into the season. Now, granted, talking with other Gamecock Nation people and analysts or whatnot, the one criticism I think that Mike Shula tends to have as a play caller, sometimes it tends to be a little bit too conservative, and you see that a lot in terms of guys who go from the NFL to college, or just coaches who kind of had that old school mentality of just how much the game has changed in general. But if you look at Shula holistically, you can tell that he has the history to do it. He has the pedigree, and quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised that nobody has tried to pick him up as a head coach possibly. But this could definitely be the next step for Shula if he does decide to go in that direction. Now, granted, he's 59 now. He'll be 60 when the season starts, so it could be a progression that way. But you also have to imagine too, if you're LaNorris Sellers, that definitely had to be a big selling point for promoting him as well, in the sense of hey, if you're already having the success with Shula, and you definitely want to please the guys you have now. And Shane Beamer is very intelligent. He's great with the media. He's a player's coach. He knows how to motivate. He understands how to recruit, and he knows how to sell South Carolina as a program to various recruits. And I think Shula is only going to help with that too, being able to build up that quarterback room, bring in some extra depth, and I'd say really work on the wide receiver room too. If you get LaNorris Sellers another couple weapons, have another insurance policy at quarterback to the point where you can start developing guys behind him in case you never know if Sellers might get hurt, or obviously it just helps them too, especially when you play in the SEC as well. But if you're South Carolina, you have to be excited by this move. Definitely, at least in my opinion, one of the most underrated in terms of his background in the NFL, his background with Cam Newton, and also you can definitely tell him being an analyst for the Gamecocks dash quarterback coach in a sense too, that it should definitely be an exciting move and one that I think is only going to just prove even more that South Carolina is on the rise. They're going in the right direction, and definitely, at least in my eyes, a surprise that Loggains ended up accepting the Appalachian State job. But given the success that Loggains has has had with South Carolina and also his extensive history in the NFL, sort of similar to Shula, it makes all the sense in the world to just make the promotion. Trust that his experience is going to get him through, and definitely it'll be intriguing to see where South Carolina kind of goes from here in terms of how the offense is going to change and how to maximize Sellers as he continues to develop as a young quarterback in college football.